Hey everybody, welcome to the Nimiq update number 2. This time with special guest Sören. Hey Sören.
Hi guys.
How's it going?
Hi, Sören.
So Sören is working in the front-end team and he will give us all the latest news today. Let's get right into it, right? Sören, testnet. I know that you were writing these instructions, you shared it with the developers. What has happened since then? The last time we talked about it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so first of all, it's not the testnet yet, it's a dev setup. It only works in a controlled Docker environment at the moment. And yeah, 2 weeks ago, we shared the instructions for our community, for our developer community to try it out, run it themselves. And it was generally successful, even worked on Windows. Yay, big plus. And since then, we have been working mostly with the 2 or 3 developers who are working on a staking pool implementation for Nimiq to sorry, I'm missing one word and then I'm always get hung up on this one word. Anyway,
No problem, take your time.
To create more RPC methods to be able to request information from the node running that the pool operators will need, like what was their reward in the last epoch or in the last batch, so they can calculate what their stakers get rewards or rewards. And these methods to get this information from the node was missing. Now it's been added, and also some information about /stakes or /rewards to be able to calculate a trust score for different validators, for example. These methods have been added. And it's generally been very stable in testing so far. I haven't heard from anybody where it crashed in the Docker setup, so that's a big plus. And as far as I know, the core team is now working on, mostly working on the history sync, which doesn't work yet, which is why we need the Docker setup currently, because we cannot sync yet from an external node, or cannot sync from different states between different nodes. But they're working hard on that, and we hope to have an update of that soon so that we can actually also create a network between individual computers.
History sync is this moment when a new node joins while the blockchain is already running, trying to catch up all this information and then reaching the top. Exactly. I remember there was some. So it actually has helped a lot already to give it to the developers, new feedback, new ideas, new bugs.
Exactly, new bugs, new panics that we have reported in the GitHub. So we gave them quite a bit of work again.
Panics is how it's called in Rust, right? When the
I just wanted to ask, panic is not a cool word, but I think it's a coder.
Oh, that's what it's called. The Rust the Rust code, or the binary
panic
in debug writes the Rust code panicked. Like a kernel panic also happens for the Linux kernel, for example, or the blue screen of death for Windows users. That's also a panic officially. So yeah, something breaks in the code and the thread stops, and we were able to report a few of them. But generally, like I said, it runs pretty stable, and you can run it for a few hours, and you can test your pool implementation, for example, or block explorers. Also, people are starting to fetch information from it for block explorers, myself included. I'm hoping to share some screens for Albatross Watch or Nimiq Watch 2.0 soon.
Beautiful. Okay.
That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, it's fun, when the testnet runs and you can actually use an explorer and see how the blockchain performs and what happens. I remember that from the first test last year. That was really like, from a non-techie person, I can't interact with the blockchain myself because I just don't have the technical knowledge. But checking out the explorers and seeing that was really fun. I enjoy that.
Seeing things moving, yeah.
Isn't it like a huge challenge for the block explorer to keep up with the speed of 2.0? I mean, seriously, like this kind of differences, your database is much more on demand. You have much more data to deal with. The front end. I mean, I know in Nimiq Watch you have this nice view of each block and the list. I think you will have to maybe change all that. I mean, otherwise.
That's a good question.
Very good question. Yeah, very good topic. It's a UI UX problem indeed, and I have been thinking about if I should still include this running view of blocks, because every second there's probably going to be a new block, and this list will never stop. But then again, other block explorers also have this for the mempool transactions. Now you see the live mempool transactions coming in, and they are also sometimes multiple per second. And it depends. I'm thinking of having this list, but having a pause and play button to toggle the stream. I don't know. Or make it like blockstream.info explorer, which just shows you the static list of the current latest ones at the moment where you loaded the page, and not auto-update it. But I haven't really. I haven't started with the main page yet. I'm doing the transaction. Which
interesting.
Lots of new transaction types in Albatross.
Interesting challenge, but I'm sure you're going to find a solution for that and solve it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, the other devs will also have to come up with similar solutions or face similar problems, right?
Exactly. We already had Mopsus. The Mopsus Explorer already did one last year when we had this first DevNet phase. And he had a good idea, a good solution about how to visualize the current epoch running and the progress on the epoch live, which was just a small piece of the screen auto-updating live, and you see a loading bar basically filling up, and then epoch over the next one, and so forth. And not the whole screen like changing constantly, but only like a top part, seeing that it's currently running, which was a very nice idea, which I think I'm gonna let myself be inspired by.
But an epoch is planned to be roughly 12 hours, I think. So I think it's going to be a long progress bar then. But I guess
in the mainnet and at the actual testnet, I think it's even talking about 24 hours.
Oh yeah,
24 hours, I believe. So yeah, it's quite long. But we are going to have batches in between, which are I think planned to be around 10 minutes. So a bit more progress visible there. But for the current Docker setup, one epoch is only 128 blocks, which is locally running in one computer, only takes like 30 seconds.
All right.
Okay, that might be a little bit slow in reality.
Right now,
but
the progress bar is very quick. Done.
Nice. Another topic that I've seen also, Sören, I think you have been bugged by that now and then, by the community poking you. Hey, what about wallet in dark mode? Dark mode, hey?
Dark mode, yes. Oh, I remember we had the translated strings actually in our translations and in our code base for a very long time, because in the beginning we thought, let's just add dark mode. And then we noticed, we have the wallet, we have the hub, and we have the keycard, and we have our view components in a fourth repository. So we have four code bases that would need to be adapted and that would need to work together, and the dark mode needs to be synced between them. And so it's still on our list, still on our to-do list. And obviously, the more we add to the wallet, the worse it gets to edit in the end. And the basic infrastructure is there to change color values, change CSS variables, but it won't cover everything, especially since our modals, our pop-up screens are handled differently, handled from a different context. And like I said, the view components, which are interspersed in the wallet and in the hub also, don't have any concept of color theming. So it's a bigger undertaking to add that. It's still on our list. It's still pretty high on the list, but right now we're looking more forward to Nimiq 2.0 staking and those adaptations, and obviously everything that has to do with Oasis and swapping.
After all, it's just a nice to have, to be honest.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Like, how important is it to? There's always vocal people. The question is if they are a minority or if they are a majority.
Exactly. All right. So I guess that's an update on that one, because I think a lot of people in the community don't see how much effort that actually involves, right? And so yeah, but let's move on to the next topic. Max, you have something on your mind?
Yeah. So in our last video, we covered a topic that wasn't really Nimiq related. It's Tesla opening up to Bitcoin, so people could actually buy a Tesla or can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, and that resonated quite well with the community. And so we thought, okay, what could be an interesting topic to talk about here that has nothing to do with Nimiq so far. And of course, we can't ignore the NFT craziness. I don't know if you guys or our community, of course, they follow the hype that's going on. And one very interesting story that I stumbled upon, and there is a robot called Sophia. It's a humanoid robot created by a company in Hong Kong. It's basically the first ever non-human machine that has a citizenship. Sophia is officially a citizen of Saudi Arabia since 2017. It's a humanoid robot with a face, so looks very lifelike, although it's not really, of course, a living creature. And so this robot
depends on the definition of living, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the essence of life is missing. You look at it and
beautiful
looks like
we're living in.
It acts like human. It can even like raise eyebrows and stuff when it talks. It's just crazy. And so what the creator did is they had the robot look into a mirror and do a self-portrait painting of itself. And that painting sold for an incredible $700,000. Which is crazy. Like, well, if you, of course, art is very popular. Look at Banksy, but that is very tangible stuff, and people like break in walls to get a piece. But that is an NFT, and that raises the question: what's going on with this space? Is it just like empty hype? Will it go even further? Will pets painting pictures sell for thousands of dollars? I think it's a very interesting.
We might be up to something there.
Actually,
cat pictures work so well. Cat pictures work so well. Maybe I should get a little kitty cat, make her paws colored.
Imagine Grumpy Cat would still be alive.
The neon cat animation was sold as an NFT also, right? The original animation. The question though I have for you, Max, is: was the painting sold, or was the NFT saying that it's the painting sold? You know what I mean?
Well, that is maybe one of the most interesting and essential questions. So what is it being sold? Because the actual file that is being created is still on like Sophia's owner's laptop, but they uploaded it. They created this non-fungible token of it, and that has been sold. Yeah. So what is the actual ownership of such a digital good? I think that is an extremely interesting question, and it became so popular. I'm trying to draw like parallels, and the only thing I can come up with is when we as kids in school, we were trading and collecting cards and stickers, and you knew that like 100,000 other people would have the same stickers, but they would still be of individual value. Or is it more about the story, how you obtained them? Like you found them in a Kinder Surprise, or what is the actual value that those NFTs have for people that they're willing to spend such a huge amount of it on it? It must be more the experience of owning it as a luxury good than the actual digital good, because that is, although it's not non-fungible, it's somewhat interchangeable. I can take a look at the picture, I can hang it on my wall, but I'm still not the owner of the actual thing.
Yeah, that's the question for me. Is there a difference? Do I have to be?
Yeah.
I mean, with actual painting, with with physical goods, you need to be, well, you either need to be the owner or you need to have it on loan to actually hang it in your wall. But for digital goods, I can have either a digital frame, like a TV on my wall and display it there, or print it out. And it's the same as the original in every pixel aspect, because I can actually download the original freely.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can.
So would you buy one?
You can make a perfect copy.
It's also for me the difference to the things we had in our childhood, because we had the physical goods. We didn't have internet and smartphones when we were in primary school. So I had the papers in my folder. I had the little plastic figures in my bag, and I was the only one in my schoolyard with the golden sparkly one. Until I lost
the
it.
shark.
Until I bet too high and I lost it. But so
it's a bit crazy, you know. And the question is,
you learn something that
I recently read about the prices for NFTs dropping as more and more people flow into the space and create. Yeah, you know, I don't know, like some artists are really great and I love checking out what they do, but there's also like utter nonsense out there being sold for crypto as an NFT. And so if too many people flow in and the prices drop, I think it's a very interesting question. What will be, the NFT sector is here to stay, that at least is what I'm pretty convinced about. But what in the long run will be the perspective of this, of the space, you know, like when all the people that want to make a quick buck like stop doing what they're doing, what will be the most interesting NFTs in the future? How will that market develop?
I think there's like
a secondary market for it, or like will people also sell it, or is it just about, is it also going into hodl mode? I don't know.
I think there's some fundamentals that I feel a lot of people don't understand about NFTs that I would just at least mention. I mean, first of all, it's just a fingerprint, right? It's a fingerprint of some information, of some data. So if you buy an NFT, you buy the fingerprint of that original art piece. You're not buying that piece of art. Attached to the NFT might be some ownership rights. It might be some usage rights. With the Nyan Cat, for example, you just buy the NFT. You just buy the fingerprint. You actually paid that money for a fingerprint of some piece of art, and nobody else can have that fingerprint from that person. Somebody else could make a fingerprint of that piece of art as well and sell it. So this market is, I think, for most people that hyped in right now, they didn't really understand it. And in terms of value, what we see a lot in blockchain is scarcity, right? Scarcity drives value. If something, the same with gold, right? If something is rare, it's getting expensive. And people say, like, yeah, exactly. So NFTs are the best thing because there's only one, which, yeah, you could say that. But on the other hand, there's NFT platforms that make it so easy to create NFTs that right now just everybody's creating NFTs. And if you look at the prices of an Ethereum transaction, right now it's roughly like $80 to $90, or it was like last weekend when I checked with a friend. And that's what you pay for creating an NFT, right? And you're never going to get that back. And if you don't have a hype around your piece of art that makes it interesting to just own that fingerprint, nobody would care, right? Some people now think, oh, I have this nice photos, I'm going to make an NFT and I'm going to get rich. If nobody wanted that picture so far, nobody will want that NFT because
that's actually also
you're not famous.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also actually an argument for NFTs in comparison to like physical goods, physical art, because with the you just said someone made the creator made a fingerprint that you can sell. And the history of this sales, the history of this token is on the blockchain, right? You can trace it back to the original creator. And if someone else makes a fingerprint of the same thing, then it's also visible on the chain that this was actually a fake. This is created by someone who has no relation or is not the creator of the original work. So in that regard, it's actually good against forgeries for NFT of one item, if you know that one exists. If you know that
depending on the proof of identity, that's also something that is very important and I think not talked about much in the space. NFTs are only valuable like the screenshot of the first tweet of Jack Dorsey. People say, oh, you bought the first tweet.
The tweet itself, I don't remember really.
And not even, and that's a funny thing, right? He had that tweet, he took a screenshot of it and he made an NFT. So you neither own the tweet, you neither own the screenshot, you just own a fingerprint of the screenshot of the tweet. And that is only interesting because Jack Dorsey made it, and it's proven with an identity authority that it was him. You trust that authority to say it was really him. I mean, those are kind of things, honestly, for me, there's a lot of checkboxes that make it a little bit hypish right now.
All a bit on very thin thin supports, maybe. Yeah.
Right, it's the old school thing of trusting others. But I see very positive things. I want to also add something positive there. I mean, besides Decentraland, for example, which is selling real estate, and people say, "Oh, come on, that's complete bullshit." If we move more into virtual worlds in the future, I don't know. It could be unstoppable domains. It's a very interesting NFT situation where you actually have your domain. It's represented by an NFT, and it actually is the guarantee for ownership. If you sell this NFT to somebody else, the domain is transferred, and that is, I think, is amazing. This is a really cool technology. I've seen also things with stock, of course, that you have basically items on stock markets. It's sometimes tokenization and NFT is not exactly the same, because maybe one stock certificate to another one is interchangeable, but usually they have an ID on it, so it is actually unique. And what I found more interesting is NFTs on real pieces of art or on real estate, where you literally, with buying the NFT, you buy ownership of a part of this this item, this physical item. You don't own the thing. You cannot ask for the people to cut out that part of the piece of art, of course not. But you get a share in the profits if it gets sold again on another auction, if you decide to cash out.
Right.
Which, I mean, those are realistic things, because not everybody has the money to invest in a real estate project, in a huge development, for example, in a big multi-floor, big situation there. You can, but still go in with 1%, for example, and you can take a profit if you think that is a very good investment, or because you like that real estate where it's built or something. So I think there's also cool stuff.
Find someone to sell it to, though.
It's an open market, yeah. Liquidity might be limited. Yeah, honestly, I think the hype is funny to see that people say, "Oh, this is not a hype. This is totally real." And while we prepare for this kind of call, we already realize it's already already over the top.
Further down.
I mean, how many weeks was this, right? It's so fast paced,
NFTs were around for a long time. It's just they recently hyped up, probably, and now they're like, it's a correction also, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know the Gartner hype cycle that usually refers to new technologies, but there's like this, I don't exactly know how the phases are called, but there's like the discovery phase, then it gets to the so-called peak of inflated expectations, and then it goes down again, and then goes up until a plateau phase, where it's the actual productive phase. So where you, like, all the inflated expectations are gone, and people now suddenly realize, okay, what is the actual use of it, and then start using it in a way that actually makes sense and creates value. Same is for any other technology, as for artificial intelligence and blockchain, of course. You might say, okay, where's blockchain in that hype cycle of the peak of expected inflated expectations, and then I have to check that. That's really, really interesting. Maybe for our next call to see where blockchain is perceived to be, and what will come in the years ahead. Okay, let me write that down.
This kind of thing also for the .com bubble, it applied, and you can have the funny phenomenon that actually the curve is going up, it drops, and the plateau is actually higher. Because the real value is actually even higher than the expected value, but only after the drop. I anticipate the same for blockchain, because you could say that 2017 was that first thing where people said, okay, that's it, it's gone, it's done, it's nothing, and the peak now is higher, much higher than 2017. So, and it might not be the last one.
This is not financial advice.
Who's that guy? Yeah, you're right. No, it's just scarcity at play. But let's move ahead, right? Let's get them back to the real world, to a more technical problem, blockchain. Sören, because we have you on the call, there is some very interesting conversation that we had in our team call. We have a weekly team call among all team members where we discuss problems and things that have evolved, and so that people can say, hey, I have this situation, somebody else could maybe help, or share this kind of information also for the communication outwards. And it was that there is a very high transaction volume that Sören, of course, noticed because he's running the Nimiq Watch blockchain explorer. What would you say about that?
Yeah, so high is relative. Obviously, the blocks are still far from full, but it's higher than it was, for example, a year ago. And what I noticed is that most of the transactions that are happening at the moment are either from the Nimiq faucet, getting requested 0.1 nim, I believe, at the moment, to
Correct.
lots of addresses. And also, for example, games like Nimtris and especially Nimiq Cyberspace. Is it called Cyberspace? I think it is.
Yep.
Paying out to their users. And Nimiq Cyberspace and Nimtris pay out after every game. So even if you just score 6 points, which takes a couple of seconds, you get a transaction on the blockchain directly to your account, which is good, which is very, you directly own the NIM, but it also creates lots of transactions that are very low in value, 0.01 NIM, which is even like divided by 100 at the moment, I believe, in euro, for example. So relatively low value and lots of these transactions. And the problem with blockchain is always that these transactions need to be stored for eternity. There needs to be a trail of transactions. And then the question that I brought this topic in the team call, and then actually other people said, no, with Nimiq we do not really need this trail of transactions. With Nimiq, as opposed to Bitcoin, we have a account store. We have a list or a registry of all addresses currently active on the chain, and they are all assigned their balance. And this tree gets hashed and put in each block. Each block contains the current up-to-date list of, or at least the hash of the current up-to-date list of account balances. And so as long as nodes share this database of account balances and verify it against the current block hash or block header, it's fine. We don't actually need to store the transactions. So it was suggested to me actually that my database, my Block Explorer database, can actually get rid of these low value transactions after a year, for example, or after 2 years. The major transactions I obviously going to keep, and I also haven't decided yet on when I will remove transactions or purge transactions from the database, but it's a possibility, definitely. The Nimiq node itself doesn't have this option yet, but the Nimiq 2.0 Albatross nodes will have this differentiation between history nodes that keep everything and regular nodes that purge everything that is older than 1 or 2 epochs. So they will stay lean. Only only the accounts tree, only the accounts database will grow. And for the Block Explorer, it was suggested to me that I can do the same and just remove the old low value transactions. So I haven't decided yet of when and how far back I'm going to do that, but I probably will, because the database is getting bigger and bigger with these, and especially querying the database and querying the transaction history for accounts takes longer and longer and gets inefficient.
But okay, so you have to optimize. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
I'm also not a database engineer, so I'm not an expert there. I'm just using Postgres with some well-placed indexes or indices, and it's working fine so far. Recently, I had an issue with it, actually. That's why I brought this up. I noticed that Postgres was switching the query strategy from using indexes to using full scan, which then took 30 seconds per query, which was ridiculous. So I did some changes and it works again. But I noticed that the further it grows, I will just run into this again. So I need to maybe remove some craft from the database.
Seems like a strange move with Postgres. Okay, but I think we cannot go into details here. Let's move on. What's new with the team as a topic?
What's new? I believe we are currently trying out a new intern in our front end team. We are, well, technically we hired someone, but this guy is in a trial period now. We is in a trial phase. And if we feel that it doesn't work either from his side or from our side, obviously, then we're still free to stop collaborating. But so far it looks very good. I guess he will be shown first, if he wants to, in one of the videos in the upcoming hackathon from Costa Rica.
Nice.
because he's also.
What is he working on?
And he's now currently working on the new staking interfaces, the new staking actions that will be added.
Very useful.
Obviously with Nimiq 2.0. And he started on this initial screen that how you start staking, the welcome screen, the list of validators, the trust score, how that gets displayed, the ordering, the filtering of the validators,
great.
wallet, search, and then also the third screen currently, which is where you select how much of your account you want to stake. You maybe see a preview of your expected or estimated rewards over time. And I think that's where we are. And so far, he said he's very happy. He likes what he sees in Nimiq code bases and how Nimiq works and our UI very much. And he's very happy to work on it. And he already pushed branches to our wallet. So
very good.
Cool.
Very productive.
Very
That's
optimistic.
Like it.
Yes, very optimistic.
We had him already on the team call last time. And I think he sounds like an outspoken person. I think he's going to maybe show up on videos. Maybe we're going to have him here even on that call one time. Beautiful.
Yeah,
looking forward to
nice
it.
Idea.
Just calls reminds me that a few days ago, we had a beautiful call with a guy from Ghana who contacted us and wants to be an ambassador maybe. And it was a very interesting call. He's basically saying like, you need a presence in Africa, and we very much agree, right? That is totally clear. It's such a huge potential. Those people like that switch directly from not having a phone to having now smartphones. People are mobile. They need payment providers that are independent from their governments. And I mean, that's just calling for crypto, and especially for Nimiq. So we said, yes, please, let's hop on a call. Let's talk about it. And he gave us an introduction, what he's doing. And it was also really interesting. And after, it was a 1 hour call, Max, right? You were there as well.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. The guy is actually a lawyer, so he has like a good background also in how the legal things work. So really promising. And we are curious to see what he's going to come up, because we asked him in the end of the call, okay, so what we need from you is a concrete plan. We need something that you say like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to tackle it. This is what I need from you guys. Maybe this is the funding that is required. This is the technology that I need. For example, maybe he needs a a sales system or something like that, a POS, something like that. We don't know yet exactly. He was also a little bit surprised. So in the end, we had that kind of part of conversation, because I think, and this is something that I realized in this call also, people on the outside might not know how Team Nimiq really works, which is maybe interesting to share also here. We are a very democratic team. So basically there is not structure besides that there is different teams, the core team, there's the front-end team, and we have team leads. So front-end team is that guy. And it's not that there's somebody on top saying, hey, you are now the team lead. It's basically very natural. I remember the process when we decided to have team leads, which means somebody who knows what is going on in general. Whenever I have a question about frontend, I know I will just ask Sören, because he will then forward me to the person who's working on it. So there is very efficient routes of communication. I think this has worked very well for us. And those decisions, they come from within the teams. It's a natural progress of, okay, this person is mostly involved. So it's naturally to become a team. People are very proactive. They look for their own tasks to work on, and there's no orders to be given. And I think this was also a little bit surprising for him. It's like, we won't tell you what to do. We can't even. We are packed with work. You need to be as independent as possible to do what you think is necessary to do. And we are happy to give you feedback on this one. So I think we're going to have a call again.
Exactly. But I just want to come back to what you said about everyone working, or every team working independently. Obviously, as a team, as a whole Nimiq team, we decide on our vision, what we want to do, and on our priorities as a team in the big picture also, obviously. And then each team decides in itself also again how it's going to tackle these things that are now on their responsibility. And then within that team, again, everyone individually, every developer, every team member individually needs to come up with ways to make that happen. There's no manager saying, you have, like, this is now your queue, this is your task, and here's our Jira with the lists, and you need to tick them off. But everyone needs to come up with away and needs to stand up, needs to come forward and say, so I'm going to do this. I'm helping here. I'm going to this. Oh, I see this is missing. I'm going to tackle this now.
Yeah.
And if we feel like this project is a good idea of our time, then we're going to do this.
Yeah. And of course, we synchronize on those ideas first, right?
Exactly. That's also how I am splitting my time between Nimiq Wallet, which is currently waiting a bit for the Oasis and Fastbot side to catch up, because there's been, again, some delays with the banks. So I'm currently spending more time on the Albatross Watch stuff. I'm also tackling, or together with Matteo, I'm tackling some longer standing to-dos in the keyguard. So I'm seeing what's now a priority? What would I like to work on also? What makes me, what keeps me motivated to stay in this?
And most important, what is most beneficial, to the progress of the entire project.
Yeah.
Like this is our constant, like this is the road everyone follows. So on one hand, everyone works very independently, but then in the end, we have to align and must come together to align to reach our goals. And every time that I explain how Nimiq as an organization actually works to people who work in a corporate environment where you have hierarchies, where you have like work streams and team leads, like basically the team leads in Nimiq, as you said, are people who are aware of everything that is going on to facilitate the communication between the departments. But there is no one who really says, all right, or has the power. That's as we are a decentralized system, we have to come up with all we do together and then independently arrange what we're doing. And I think that is sometimes a misperception. But that is also, a good thing, because that means also our community, if they are willing to, not only give great ideas, but be part of the realization of those ideas, because like giving us ideas is always, we really appreciate that, and we listen to everything that's being talked about, but we don't always, our own pipelines are completely full. We would very much appreciate help from the outside with realizing this. Just one thing that comes to my mind that I've recently seen is, why is Nimiq not on Wikipedia? So it's the decision between, okay, for a communications team, are we ramping up a decent launch campaign for Oasis, or are we sitting down and writing a Wikipedia article? So we just have to set priorities. And every time, if the community decides, hey, Nimiq wants to be on Wikipedia, this is the proactive approach that we welcome. Like sit down, make a draft. How would you structure it? And then in the end, to be safe and sound when it comes to the information, submit it to Team Nimiq. We'll check it out. But we are in need of the community contributing to the progress of our project. And the more help and really hands-on work we have from our community, the faster we will progress.
And it's decentralization, I think it's not as a society. I think we have to start figuring out what that actually means. Like, for example, Wikipedia is public, right? There is not even this kind of thing that we will approve this Wikipedia article. No, we are actually not even supposed to write it. So you can write it, and we might go there and say, hey, we would prefer it to be like this. And then the guys at Wikipedia, there's editors, right? They will look at it and say, no, this sounds too much business-like, too much marketing-like. We don't like this, this is not informative. And they will kill it. And that's all right. That's how it's supposed to work. We had many times from the community this call, like, oh, you need a CEO, you need somebody who's leading this process. Yes, that would be a shortcut, but as Nimiq, we decided we're not going to take any shortcuts on decentralization. And I'm personally very proud of the team being able, on the long run, to push this through, even in terms of team structure, of saying like, no, we don't have a CEO. No, we are finding effective ways of communicating when it's needed for new ideas to think, are we going to do this? What's the rough idea? And then decentralized teams tackling those ideas and executing them. I think I think it's part of living the decentralized future. I think I really like it. Yeah.
And it's also experience. You get better each time because you understand how the living organism of such a decentralized team works. And of course, we understand everything that's going on. I think like Oasis launch, the beta launch is a good topic to like address. We understand everything that is going on, but just finding the right way to tackle it, and this is just a process that has to be completed before we can move on. With the beta launch, what we did is, as we want to be as effective as possible, we were in direct contact with lots of news sources, and pushing a lot of like articles and news coverage. And then of course those people give us feedback and they ask questions, and then we have to tackle that. And I think for the beta launch, we collected a lot of experience that I think.
You mean the Oasis beta launch, right?
Yeah, right. The Oasis beta launch, we already like spoke about that in the last video, that we decided, okay, we completely understand what it takes to run such a campaign. And that was like only the first test flight of a test flight, because like everybody knows that Team Nimiq is first releasing and then promoting, and not the other way around. This is how we do stuff. And like we completely acknowledge that for such a small decentralized team, that is a very big topic to tackle. And we are, let's say, I'd say in the final stages of talking to a specialized crypto marketing agency, which will support us with the upcoming, basically with launching our milestone, or our really big milestone releases this year. Nimiq 2.0, Oasis, which is hopefully coming up very soon. Like closed testing of the cell flow will start in the near future, and then we're getting like faster and faster and faster. And we completely saw that this is something that needs, like, it doesn't make sense for us to democratize a work stream that is absolutely vital and necessary for the success of the project. So together we came up with the solution of, okay, we need external help and support with this matter, and this is now very much on the way. And I'm really very much looking forward to how this will go, and I'm very curious about the next months and everything that's ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. We're getting a little bit on the lengthy side. I'm just looking at my clock. Let's move to the final topic: events, upcoming events and conferences. Max.
Yeah. Of course, cool. So talking about marketing, that is something that I think makes sense to highlight. If Corona permits, the conference and event season after a break in 2020 will finally start again. So the first two events are already confirmed. The first one is the Blockchains conference in Hamburg, taking part from July 7th until the 9th. Blockchains is Germany's leading blockchain and blockchain tech conference. And it's not only Nimiq who's going to be present, but the 1031 family. As of today, with 1031 as the bank itself, Salamantex and Nimiq. Maybe some other partners will join too, but those are the three parties that are already confirmed. We are also having a speaking slot on the main stage, so we'll be able to present Nimiq and our most important developments to the entire audience. And of course, it's gonna be fun. It's the first conference that we attend as the 1031 family, and of course, we're aiming at creating a lot of buzz there. So either be there or look forward to what's going to come. And if you've been following our channels, you know that we are now a member of Blockchain for Europe Association. And the association also has a virtual summit, which is taking part from on the 8th and 9th of June. And we'll also be speaking on that virtual summit and be part of a panel where we discuss ways on how to connect the traditional banking system with the new blockchain world. And everyone who knows Nimiq knows that this screams Oasis. So we'll be very much looking forward to attending and speaking at those events. And there's also a third one that we're currently discussing. And for sure, it won't be our last one. So yeah, exciting and thrilling times ahead.
Okay. Just about discussing on this one, I see that we have to soon wrap up this call, because after this one, we're going to talk with 1031 and the other partners what we're going to do at blockchains. It's happening right away. So I think in the next update call, we can actually give more details of what we're going to do exactly, or at least we start this process now to be ready. Any last
Awesome.
words, Sören, special guest?
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for letting me share my
Universe.
expertise. I don't know.
Yeah. It's beautiful that you had time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think
Thank you
in
very
general
much.
we're gonna try to get some guests in every time if we find somebody who has time. But we'll push, and it's gonna be good getting the news out. Thanks everybody for joining. Beautiful. Let's have.
Thank you.
Talk soon again.
Talk to you soon, gentlemen.
See you soon.
Bye bye.
See you guys.